For the perspective from Capitol Hill, let's turn now to Congressman Rahm Emanuel, chairman of the Democratic Caucus. Congressman, thank you for your time, especially on this busy evening.
Thank you.
As you understand it, what happened at the White House earlier tonight? What happened to the agreement that was reached by the senators this afternoon? Are we really starting from scratch?
Well, we're not going to start from scratch. But what's sad here is that the senator, after there was an agreement, decided to have his own theater. And once you interjected presidential politics, you basically have a deal now that got sidetracked and off track here. And you don't throw a new idea in the ninth inning. And even Secretary Paulson said to the Republicans, this was not a non-starter. It wasn't going to work. And I think what's unfortunate is that the senator decided all of a sudden that what he needed for his campaign was more important than what the country needed. And the country was very clear what we have to do here. You have to balance the need of what the market needs to get the confidence restored, as well as protecting taxpayers. What he decided was he needed to make some theater, as you clearly have shown in the early part of this show, and I think it's actually derailed what was really going on and effectively being pursued by both parties, both chambers, as well as the White House.
As of 7 hours ago, Mr. Bennett of Utah, the Republican senator, believed the votes were there in the House to pass that.
Yeah.
You're in the House. He is not. Were the votes there, and what happens now?
You know, like, you probably know this, Keith, but you never know until you kind of put people's, basically you say, this is what we're going to do, and then you got to start rounding up the votes. As long as that kind of moment or judgment day is right there, or judgment moment's right there, you never can tell. But it's clear that people understand, at least in our caucus, the seriousness of this moment, I just left the caucus, how important this moment is in time for America, and that we had basically, as Yogi Berra used to say, when you get to a fork in the road, take it. We had to make this choice and what we were going to do. So we were ready. Barney Frank took a proposal by Secretary Paulson, made sure we protected taxpayers, made sure there was oversight, made sure that, in fact, homeowners who had trouble were actually able to work out their problems, and made sure taxpayers got upside if there was a turnaround in financial institutions. That improved it, protecting taxpayers, but also providing the assurance to basically the financial markets. And then all of a sudden, at the last minute, they decided that it was more important to try to have theater than it was to make progress. And I'm a little bewildered for the maverick here. As you just showed in as the senator says, he said he didn't read the proposal. Sometimes I'm taking away this, Straight Talk Express must not have a reading room in it. And that would be probably the best thing that we could do, is put a reading room so you can analyze the 3 pages.
Yeah, I was just going to say, we could have it at 3 pages. We could easily, you or I could easily have read it to him if that was the issue.
How about this? For the 22 hours he didn't come down to D.C., he could have just taken away from the microphones and the cameras and just read it. But I'm a little, in the name of helping the country and suspending politics, he put politics back in it. In the name of making progress, he stalled it. That's just basically where we are.
To that point, this seems to have been, in the last few months, the nature of the campaign the Republicans are running for the White House. Is it, in fact, there's a build a crisis workshop? I mean, are these artificial attempts to create white knight situations for somebody?
I'm getting a little backstabbed here, but let me say this, Keith. I think on behalf of the American people, and I've talked to my constituents, I've heard what they have to say, and you'll see a Gallup poll tomorrow where 80% of the American people support achieving something here of a bailout, and described as a bailout. They have figured this out, I think, in their own way, in a very commonsensical way. They've got it figured. One, a number of people in the financial community were creating instruments they didn't even understand. Second, some, not all, people were buying homes, flipping homes, but getting in homes that they shouldn't have had that were beyond their means. That's what it's called a liar's loan. And third, the people they hired to police this, the government, wasn't doing its job, making sure the other two were staying honest and true. And that's why they're angry, and they're legitimately angry. They also know the consequences, and they know we have to act. And we, who were given this proposal basically just less than a week ago, have in very rapid time represented our constituents and got improvements in a piece of legislation that was $700 billion with no oversight, no authority. We've made changes that protected the taxpayers and improved the legislation. I don't know why in the ninth inning they've all of a sudden decided to do this.
Well, last question. It's about the ninth inning and the gentleman who arrived in the ninth inning. I know you were not at the White House meeting earlier today, and obviously you're not at the stuff that's going on right now. But is it clear to you from your colleagues, does anybody know what Senator McCain's actual position on this is right now?
Well, look, Keith, I think you have to step back, and I don't want to, I know Senator McCain. I've watched his career. He has been noted for making rash decisions. He all of a sudden, obviously, he and the campaign, there's a campaign, they've made a decision. I think it was a mistake both by the Senator McCain, but I also tell you by the White House, to take this that was all the way until this moment, until the White House was removed of politics, to interject 40 days to go before a presidential campaign, we're going to invite the presidential candidates here, and then say politics isn't part of it. It was actually, we kept the candidates, they were running around the country, expressing to the American people what their views were, setting down their principles. We were doing what we were supposed to do, which was legislate. John McCain proposed this idea, endorsed by the White House after the fact, and now all of a sudden see what the results are. I don't think it's more complicated than that.
To quote the great political analyst David Letterman, something smells. Congressman Rahm Emanuel of Illinois, thank you for your time tonight.
Thank you, Keith.